Welcome to another episode of the Color Money Podcast. We got another great one in store for you today. This is Bowman Keaty, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Julie Lachey and Imric Pease. Today, we are going to have an awesome conversation with a really talented and unique woman who I've just been so impressed with. We're joined today by Whitney Blanco. She's a dynamic and strategic leader with a PhD in public and urban policy and a master's in public health. She's got extensive global experience in driving initiatives at the intersection of innovation, public health, and urban development. She's had a lot of experience and demonstrated success in leading complex projects with a focus on sustainable development, health emergencies management, and economic revitalization. She's been recognized for excellence in building cross-functional teams, fostering international partnerships, and spearheading transformative strategies. She is also the founder and CEO of Acreage AI, a company that empowers you with the tools and knowledge to make informed real estate decisions. And so we are so excited to have Whitney with us today and to have a conversation that's going to cover a lot of great things about the power of technology and the opportunity to use technology to make great real estate decisions. So welcome, Whitney.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, can you introduce me every single time, everywhere I go? Like, this is a great introduction. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, cool. Well, Whitney, thank you for joining us. I think just to start off, I know you have before you came to sort of this opportunity in technology and information, AI and real estate, you had a really wide ranging set of experiences. Yeah. And so maybe you could start by just tell us a little bit about the journey that led you to Acreage AI and how you got here.
Well, first, let me say that I am a humanitarian first. I'm a humanitarian that does real estate. I think shaping and starting there kind of tells you my story, and I can go from there. So I studied civil engineering at Georgia Tech, super nerdy, highly introverted, and I decided to go and become a construction engineer at Kenzel Phelps in California on a naval base. Once again, super nerdy, very introverted, and I was really moved by the Affordable Care Act, and I wanted to expand health for people, and I wanted for people's well-being to be realized in a way that honored them. So I decided to go back to school. I went to Columbia University, studied public health there, and then from there I decided I wanted to change the world. So I went to the Duke Geneva Fellowship Program with Duke in Switzerland. Went there with $400 in my pocket for 2.5 months. Do not recommend that. And I interned with Dr. Keeney under who was the ADG for health systems with the World Health Organization. And then I started doing systems development for the nations with antimicrobial resistance. And from there, I got my first contract with the R&D blueprint for infectious diseases that can cause pandemics. So I was studying coronavirus and Ebola and dengue and creating different programs and different strategies with the FAO, which is the Food Administration Organization, and different countries, different G7 member states. Once again, super introverted. Number 2 is a major part of my story, right? I basically, from there, I got another position, did a great job with the R&D blueprint, became a program that somewhat worked. We had a COVID vaccine, so I was happy about that. Worked on the European Union Luxembourg project with 20 African nations and the Sustainable Development Goals. So I'm working with the Ministries of Infrastructure, Ministries of Health, Ministries of Finance, across 47 African nations, doing a lot of intersectoral work, intersectoral development discussions, and policy dialogue. So that's 5 years into my journey, 7 years into my journey.
So why Acreage Earth? Like, how do you get from I'm changing the world and health around the whole universe to I'm using AI in real estate?
So I fast forward. I am doing strategy in the Congo, and I'm doing strategy with the G7 multi-sectoral partners. And I'm realizing that the world is ran by natural resources, private equity, and real estate. If I really want to make a huge change in this world, I need to control one of those asset classes. I need to control one of those domains. I need to support one of those domains. I need to foster and help other people have more money, more access to natural resources, or more real estate. So I become a developer. I started developing in Atlanta. I started doing private sector as well as affordable housing.
So you said that at some point you came to the conclusion that real estate was one of the key pieces of the world.
Yes.
And how did you come to that conclusion? And what do you think about that now? Like what is it about real estate?
You want the real answer? I was in Security Council meetings for the United Nations, and those are the three topics: real estate, resources, and money.
Money.
Right? So if you don't control one of those assets, things are difficult for you, right? And so it's really important to be a person of power and a person of strategy, and to connect yourself in one of those domains in your lifetime in some sort of way. So I was like, okay, how can I do it? I can do it in real estate. I'm a civil engineer. I can make that happen.
So when you got into real estate, how'd you get into real estate first? How'd you become I'm a developer overnight? Like how'd that work?
Basically.
What was your first project?
So I did a duplex on Hank Aaron Drive in Atlanta, Georgia. And I started that project. We did 6,000 square feet of living, 2 units with an ADU, accessory dwelling unit. We thought the price was going to be $585,000. The property sold for $700,000+. So that was my first project. And I was like, wait, there's something here. During that time, I was also working on my PhD. And in my PhD studies, I realized that everyone, whether you were working with the United Nations or you're working with private sector or affordable housing, you need to understand what you can build with land, how you can build with land, and really bring in all of the data points that you need for real estate development.
But you start to realize that this question of what can you do with a piece of land? What can you do with a site? What can you do with a building?
Yeah.
What is available if you're going to imagine, like we have this concept of highest and best use, right?
Right, exactly.
Like what is actually possible? So tell us about that journey, your realization.
It's interesting you say highest and best use, because when I think of highest and best use, you think from a spatial perspective. You think from an architectural perspective. But many times highest and best use does not translate to economic wealth, right? It has to be, what is that intersection of the most amount of units you can have, where you don't have diminishing returns. What's the public sentiment? Is there political will? Are we really in the right overlays, zoning? I had a zoning meeting earlier today. What's really the highest and best use? And so that conversation and that discussion is really what really forced me to start Acreage Earth and Acreage AI, and to say, okay, we're going to use artificial intelligence to bring all of this data together for people who want to develop. So we're talking about small business owners. We're talking about people who inherit land, people who inherit businesses, local governments. These all have been my customers since I've started Acreage AI.
You want to take us a step back for some of our listeners who might not be as well versed in zoning and all these issues. Can you take us through what that process is that happens when somebody's trying to evaluate a site for real estate development, and what are some of the different variables and inputs that go into trying to navigate that? Because I think that'll give some basis for Acreage AI.
Yeah. So when it comes to zoning, for Acreage AI, we collect about 100 plus data points. But
just take me all the way back. So if I'm just a guy,
okay,
I'm a guy in Georgia,
okay,
and I inherited a piece of land.
Yeah.
What do I need to think about before I can do
Yeah.
something?
So with zoning, it basically tells you what you can build on your land, how much you can build on your land, how big it could be, how tall it could be, how many rooms you can have, what type of connections you can have. Can you have sewer? Can you have direct connections? It tells you exactly what you can do with land. And so if you're a guy in Georgia, basically you need to understand exactly what those nuances are from a policy perspective, from a building perspective, and really from a political will perspective. Because if your property is not zoned appropriately, then they will not allow you to build. Will build what you will. You have to basically build what's in the urban design or planning or the future land use for that property.
And it's really interesting, right? Because zoning is one of these things that's both formulaic, like it has rules, but those rules are oftentimes intersect with politics.
Yes.
Because those rules can be changed, and even within those rules, the acceptance of your proposed project has a lot to do with public sentiment and impression. Yeah. So there's this really interesting intersection between a very rules-based formula, a design and aesthetic piece, and a political piece that all come together to determine when you're doing development what you can actually put on a site.
Yes.
But can I back up even one more step? I just want to make sure I'm understanding the conversation in general. So Whitney, you founded a business and it basically has an intersection of real estate and AI, because you're saying some buzzwords that are kind of like buzzwords right now: real estate development, AI. And you founded a business that you have customers that you serve, big customers that you serve from founding this business. When did you found the business?
Last year. Top of last.
And did you do it by yourself?
Yes. And so
can I ask some questions around that? Because I know a lot of our listeners are entrepreneurs, or they want to be entrepreneurs, and they want to start a business and found a business. But you've founded like a really important, big, complex business all by yourself. So I have some quick questions about that, if that's okay, Bo, because I just want to start with that. That in itself is impressive to me. So I mean, how did you decide to do that? Because a lot of people, in fact, I just did this keynote on entrepreneurship, and I can't remember the stat, but I used a stat that was like almost 87% or something percent of people want to start a business or be an entrepreneur, but very few ever actually do. So what took you from I have this idea, I have this concept, I can do it on my own, to actually launching a business?
I think it's audacity. I had the audacity to do it. I had the audacity also to be imperfect while doing it, right? Because technology is complicated. Creating user interfaces are complicated. The project or the science behind it is complicated. And so I think many times people, especially if you're a person of color, you feel the pressure to be absolutely perfect in every single way. And I had to accept early on that I wasn't going to be absolutely perfect. But Uber is a multi-billion-dollar organization. It's not even profitable. Acreage is profitable, right? And so the thing is, you have to decide that, okay, you got to start your business, and then you have to tweak, and then you have to speak with your customers, and you have to improve every single time. And then having a solid team, having the right people to help me and to really buy into the vision of Acreage AI has really been, it's kept me going. It's definitely not something that's easy. But I think this is not the pretty answer, but it's the answer that working with all of these Fortune 500s, working with these heads of states, you realize that having the audacity to do something is often half of the battle. And then perfecting every single time you serve as a customer, every single time you deploy a code. Tomorrow morning, I'm meeting with coders and just working and troubleshooting and building and developing. So having the desire and the vision was enough for me and to go forward.
Where did you get the money? Because you said you went to the Geneva Fellowship with $400, which you said you don't recommend. I get that. But one of the biggest barriers to people who want to start business, particularly women of color, is accessing capital. Where did you get the money to start this business from?
Yeah, so I honestly had to sell products to make money. I couldn't.
Tell me more. What does that mean?
I had to sell Acreage reports in order to fund. So it's self-funded.
Yeah.
I'm a civil engineer. I do decent coding. But I basically just self-funded and did it myself. And every time I had a customer, I made money and I put it right back into the business. It wasn't until this year that I was able to raise money. And this is very common in this technology space. Black women get 0.3% of funding. Women get 2% of funding. And so I hate to say it this way, at the very beginning, I wasn't able to fundraise until I had 6 figures of revenue, a solid team. And I suffered. I just didn't get my hair done as much. I didn't get my nails done. I lived in a studio condo that I bought. And I was very just intentional and just really focused on Acreage AI. So it's been awesome to say last year, and I'll say it publicly, I made $19,600 with Acreage. This year, we're on track to make over $500,000. Right?
Wow.
And so,
that's amazing.
Thank you. You have to be willing to suffer. And that's not a pretty story. It's not a nice story, but I wasn't able to raise at first, and now I am. But I had to show that I had skin in the game. I had to show I had product and customers.
So I just want to piggyback on Julia's line, because I want everybody to be super clear in a concise way for an average everyday listener. What is Acreage AI and what's the benefit to the general populace of Acreage AI?
So I show you what you can build on land. I show you how much it's going to cost. I show you the procedure, and I show you the risk. I tell you the risk. We have a team of architects, engineers, brokers, and they basically come together. We gather the information in a synthesized or a one pager, and we tell you what you can do with land.
So oftentimes when you're a developer and you're a large development company is going to go look at a site, they would have a bunch of information at their fingertips. They would have market reports that show what other properties are renting for or selling for in that area. They would have public documents that would show investments by the municipality in future infrastructure in that area, maybe roads, power, sewer. They would have an architect that would look at what could be designed based on the code that's there. And they would have a zoning attorney that would also give them the legal requirements. And then often they might have a lobbyist that would tell them what's the likelihood that people are going to, stone you if you try to build this here. And so what the way I look at it is what Acreage Earth does is use technology and AI to access all the publicly available information.
That's cool.
To allow you, the regular individual, at a much lower cost who can't afford all those people, to have a solid sense of what can happen on a piece of land.
Can we talk about that even for a minute? Thank you, Bo. That was very clear. But also, can we talk about that for a minute? Because there's this commercial that keeps popping up every time I'm trying to be on YouTube. And it says, most adults are just using AI for ChatGPT and they're using it like Google. But what you've just described, Bo, is that there's an entirely different way to apply technology, specifically artificial intelligence, to your business. I'm imagining, Whitney, that must save you, obviously, time, money. Yeah. Like, talk to us about how this technology is saving you time and resources in your business.
Yeah, so it's saving time and money for my clients, but it's also correcting mistakes. So many people who have land basically partner with the architect, and they will spend $10,000, $20,000, $40,000 for beautiful plans that aren't feasible. So it's basically giving you a directionally accurate story, a playbook of what to do with your land. it's a playbook of what to do with your land. Yeah.
And you created this software or this artificial intelligence that does this?
Well, I didn't create the artificial intelligence, right? So I did not create the artificial intelligence, but what we created is the algorithms. And what I created is the math, the algorithms, and the placement of the information and the analysis of the information. So it's not just about, some people are like, oh, this is public data. Well, can you interpret the public data? Is it interpreted correctly? Is it interpreted correctly for development? And that's really what we support with our team of engineers. Really support people with that analysis. So with every report that's backed by AI, there is a architect, a financial modeler, different people that you can ask a real human being the question of what to do with your land.
So who are your clients that you do this for?
So I've worked with judges. I've worked with small business owners, physicians. I've worked with local governments, developers, integral with the WellStar project, AMC. We did some of the public sentiment analysis and architectural massing study. That's $1 billion development that just broke ground. We've worked with City of Griffin. So people who are people and organizations there where there's a need for a quick analysis, but at a relatively discounted price. So we're not aiming for the multi-billion-dollar developers. We're working with local governments. We're working with nonprofits. We're working with institutions that need this type of analysis. They need it done quickly so they can move forward for urban development.
Could this same technology that you've created, could this be used for spatial planning or architectural planning, that kind of thing?
Yes. And the thing is, so I also want to be clear, we're Autodesk network partners, right? So we use AutoCAD, we use these different entities, and we're creating AI agents in order to do this analysis for the urban planning and for the developments.
So I'm asking selfishly because I'm in the process of moving our office, and we have a space designer that did a terrible job, set us back like 3 months. But I'm thinking, if someone like you had this kind of business and they were using someone like you, this could have been, like you said, mistakes and things like that. They had bathrooms that weren't even the code, things like that. Those kind of things. I feel like your software or your services could even help smaller companies than the major cities and things that you're serving.
So we don't quite do floor plans quite yet. We are aiming to integrate that software by the end of next year, where we will be able to do full-on analysis from urban planning all the way to the actual floor plan for that house.
And how are you as a small business owner scaling that? Because that just seems like a big leap that you're taking on a lot. Last year, you just started with $19,000. This year, you're at $500,000. Next year, you're servicing half the world. Like, how are you scaling this fast?
I have a great team. I have a great team, and I'm close to a construction site right now, so I apologize. I thought it would be insulated, but it's not. It's insulated in Columbia right now. But I have a great team. I'm working with Ralph Raymond. He's one of the he writes the exams for architects across the nation. Working with Jihad Iqbal. He's done a lot of work with Amazon. Working with Danielle Herrera, who's an amazing civil engineer. I'm hiring 2 more people who I really want to blast right now for next week. Great engineers, structural engineers. I have Dr. Angie Kearns, who's a broker. She has a brokerage in 19 states, a company that has a brokerage in 19 states, rather. And so I have a dynamic team. And that's not even the people who are all coding the information, right? So
where'd you find them from? How did you build this team that you're like, I have this great team? Were they your friends, your family? Did you put an ad out on LinkedIn? I mean, where did you find these people?
Word of mouth. I went to Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech is the #1 coding school in the U.S. Word of mouth. Really, word of mouth. I spoke at the Georgia Tech advisory board meeting, and I was able to meet people. So people started reaching out to me. And so, it's just been really, I don't want to say it's been easy, but, I've been blessed to have quality people. And I think that, when you have quality people where you don't have to worry if it's right, that makes a huge difference.
The one thing that I want to talk about, because I think it's relevant to what we talk about here, is I'm interested in maybe I know that one of the passions that Whitney has is that by using technology to bring down the cost of these complex processes, you can put tools and knowledge and power in the hands of everyday people and close some of the gaps that make it hard for people with less resources to understand the power of their land. So what originally inspired me about Whitney is she came to share about this, platform she had, but what she wasn't talking about, well, hey, I can make your big development easier and do your pro forma, even though that is what actually she does. She was talking about, well, hey, there's the people that inherit a piece of land and they end up getting swindled because they don't know what could be built there. Yeah. She was talking about how do we bring tools that help. We think about people in rural Georgia who, grandpa left them some land and now they got this land and they don't know what it could be. And they got some crazy guy telling, oh, you can build this, you could do that. And they got
or worse, Bo, or worse, they got somebody telling them, oh, just sell it to me. I'll buy it from you for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah. So they either think it's worth way too much or way too little. And that's pretty much the story I've seen over and over again in my real estate journey, is that unsophisticated sellers end up losing because they usually start off overvaluing their land and end up selling the person who says, oh, I'll just take it off your hands because, it's not worth anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good understanding of that.
And so what do you think is the importance, Whitney? What is AI going to do for the future of how we think about real estate and access and information? Like, how much can AI do and how should people think about AI in their life and their work?
So I think it's two paths, right? I think AI is going to bring a lot of data, or it can bring a lot of data together, so people can make good decisions about their land. So there's more softwares developed like Acreage. We can use AI to do that. However, AI is basically going to, if you hire 10 people to do something, from financial modeling to architecture to all of those different elements, you're still going to need those people, but it's going to be, what's the best way to say it? It's not going to be as, those jobs are not going to be as applicable, unfortunately, because people are basically going to no longer need as many consultants. So right now, developers hire 10 to 20 people. We're already seeing developers hiring 3 to 5 people in order to do a job of 20 people. So it's going to bring analysis down, or it's going to bring the time for analysis down, and it's going to be more accurate. So that's how I see AI going forward.
And that's in general what AI is, right? AI is, which some people think is bad, right? Because it's like, oh, it's going to take everybody's job. But really, learning how to use AI is going to make you more efficient. And the people who know how to use AI are going to be the people who are going to succeed and excel in this environment.
Well, I think it's also the jobs are going to shift, right? So the jobs that pencil, we're going to know which jobs pencil quicker. So more work is going to go into the for acreage space. For the fact of acreage, or for the sake of acreage, we're pushing out more jobs that are actually under contract because the analysis has been done. So whereas people, projects which just sit, they're no longer sitting because the analysis has been done quickly and in a concise and succinct way.
And then I was sitting here and I'm just listening. I'm quiet and I'm listening. And what I really see is that Acreage AI is really the bridge between what you think you own and what you really own.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the story that I've heard with today's episode here, what I heard is that you took a chance, right? And you said, and I heard 3 things about building this amazing business that's going to be a multi-million-dollar business next year. You had the audacity to even go for it, right? And then you surrounded yourself by great people Emmerich whole saying of your network is your net worth. And you sacrificed. You had a lot of self-sacrifice. For you to say you didn't get your hair done and you didn't get your nails done. You know how many women won't do that just to make it, you self-sacrifice. And you succeeded in growing this. But I don't even know what that percentage is from $19,000 to $500,000. I don't even know how many hundreds of a percentage that is, but it's amazing. And then next year you're scaling even more. And so how fast you've built this business with a good team, a good network, and using technology is, to me, is the story behind your amazing success. I mean, that's just incredible to me.
Well, I think it's also, there's a long way to go, right? Technology scales exponentially. And I really encourage people to embrace technology in some way or fashion in their industries, whatever they decide to do, because it can help you scale exponentially.
As you look forward for you, what's next for Acreage AI, and how does that continued journey for you? How do you think about wealth building, legacy? As you've poured everything into building a company, how do you think about your personal wealth journey in addition to your goals for the business?
Yeah. I think to answer the question in two parts, Acreage, we have this new integration with Autodesk. And so right now, my entire life is Autodesk, and ensuring that, and Autodesk is the software that engineers use in order to design buildings. And so I'm really into that right now. I'm looking to scale with Autodesk as the base for Acreage, and for us to use that going forward. Looking to hire more people, more financial modelers. We have 2 on staff right now. So that's how I see it. I see that for now. For myself, I want to become a millionaire, but I want to also support the development of 20 other millionaires. I don't know why the number is 20. It just is. It's 20. And so everyone who works with the company, well, I won't say everyone, most people who work with the company has equity in the company. And so my aim and my goal is to either become a very successful company that's private, that, we go on in perpetuity, or we are acquired, or we IPO. There's a need for this type of work. There's a need we have several clients, and so several type of clients. And so, I want this company to sustain me. I want it to sustain my family for generations. But I also want to sustain 20 other families. And I think that this technology is sound enough to do that. And the purpose is sound enough. And there's just a need. There's a desire for people to understand their land.
Okay. I'm gonna go somewhere else. I'm just gonna put it out there. I know you've already thought of it. IP.
So I have a awesome attorney, and we work closely together to ensure that our tech stacks and all that information is sound and solid. I think that's something people do not. I think they undervalue at the beginning, or they overvalue at the beginning. It's only once you start selling product or once you have solved a problem that you actually have sound IP. There's several types of IP. There's user interface, there's algorithms, there's data. So we're definitely working towards protecting ourselves. Our attorneys are awesome.
So if there's somebody out there who's got a passion for the world and for others. Actually, first, I want to double back to this idea that you said I want to make 20 other millionaires, because I just think that's like, anybody who's listening, you go make 20 millionaires, you're going to be way more than a millionaire, just in case you were wondering about that. And so that focus on building for others can ensure success, and that's what ensures the teamwork to move forward. My sort of closing question for you was, and I'm sure Julia and Emmerich have others, is if you're someone out there who wants to make a difference, you said you're a humanitarian first, and you decide to start a business, what would be your advice to somebody, any of our listeners, like Julia said, who want to start a business or in that entrepreneurial journey? Mm-hmm. Like, what would you say to someone who's in that entrepreneurial journey, who's starting off, who's forgoing the hair appointment to pay the bills to make it work. Like,
That's a real thing.
What would you say to them?
That's a big deal in the Black community. That's why I kept saying it. Like, that's a big deal. Yeah.
I think, I don't know, maybe this is too provocative, but being a humanitarian doesn't mean being weak. And it doesn't mean that you can't be clear about your business and your business terms and selling a sound product. I think a lot of times, people who want to be supportive of saving the world or, helping others, a lot of times the idea of it being profitable is lost, or it always needs to be a charity. And I think that if you can develop a business around helping people, helping your clients, helping your teammates, that sounds sustainable business. I'm a Christian. That's business that's done by faith. And I think that my team has been, I want to say loyal, but they really stuck to the mission, even when, payroll was, the week 3, not week 2. They stuck to the mission because they know that I'll go to bat for them. So, and they know that I want it to be profitable, and they know what I stand for. So I think for anyone who's starting a business, you have to be tough, you have to be fair and clear, but it has to be profitable. You have to make money. So that's really how I see it.
There is no mission without margin.
Yeah, I like that.
How can we best support you?
This is a great start. Just having people know who I am, honestly. I think I mentioned earlier that I was not always in the forefront. I have to become more in the forefront. So this is great. Number 2, I'm looking for investors. I'm hoping, raising a small round of $750. And so looking for investors. And then lastly, looking for clients. If institutions, small business owners, who are looking to understand land and what they can build, we can get you through conceptual design fairly quickly and give you an estimate of what that project is going to cost you. So yeah, those are the 3 ways. This exposure is great. I appreciate it. This is making me number 1 in many ways, and then investing, and then clients.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's been awesome having you, Whitney. We look forward to continuing to see the success of Acreage AI going forward.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
This podcast is for general informational purposes only. The views, thoughts, and opinions of the guest represent those of the guest and not Keller Williams Realty LLC and its affiliates, and should not be construed as financial, economic, legal, tax, or other advice. This podcast is provided without any warranty or guarantee of its accuracy, completeness, timeliness, or results from using the information. Any text or materials generated by artificial intelligence, AI, should be reviewed for accuracy and reliability, as there may be errors, omissions, or inaccuracies. The use of generative AI is subject to limitations, including the availability and quality of the training data used to train the AI model used. Users should exercise caution and independently verify any information or output generated by the AI system utilized, and should apply their own judgment and critical thinking when interpreting and utilizing the outputs of generative AI.